This video is brought to you by EA Game Changers. Thank you so much for my copy of The Sims 4 Tiny Living Stuff Pack. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and this is a tiny stuff pack build. I always want to say tiny house stuff or something, but it is tiny living, and it is available now, I believe, or coming out soon by the time I post this. I was very pleasantly surprised by this pack. I was very surprised when it was announced. It's not really something that you ordinarily think of when they're like, oh, here's a new pack, It has been talked about in the community before, like, oh, it would be really cool to have objects that are geared more towards small spaces, especially after we got city living in the apartments and all that. So I'm very, happy with these objects. I think they're really versatile. I like how they look. I like how they're not as clunky and chunky as many other objects that we've gotten in the past. And I really hope that that's a trend that keeps on going, because I really like the look of the objects. Not just because they're simple and a little bit mid-century, but just because they're just, well designed. They're a little more modern, present day. So all good things. I had a little bit of a challenge with this one because you know me, I usually do bigger homes, and so I had trouble navigating just the limitations that you have to do. So they tell you in the tile or lot type requirements. So a tiny home is 64 tiles, and a micro home is like 30, I think, and then 100 is a small home. So I don't really make small homes, so I was like, man, this is harder than I thought it would be. But luckily they help you keep track of the tile count at the very top near where your arrow, like your select and your bulldoze and all that, it's up there. So they tell you how many tiles you have left, how many tiles you've reached, and depending on the type of home or what tier you have is how many perks you get according to that type of home. So a small home only gives you like 2 perks, and then it just kind of goes up from there. So that's a really cool feature, especially if you are doing rags to riches, or if you're the type of person that likes to start from the ground up and give your Sims a little bit of a challenge and not just free real estate on their lives. So that's kind of a cool thing, especially for major players that like to dive into the game and the game mechanics. And I also think it's good for builders too, because I think a lot of builders kind of get bored with how they always build, so this kind of provides a different way to build, and I really like that. A+ for me. So this build is inspired by a little tiny mid-century home that I saw, and I was like, I need to build this. And I like the idea of having it in Oasis Springs because of the mid-century items and just the look of the house in general. I thought the black kind of contrasted really cool against the red rocks and the red dirt. So yeah, that's kind of what I was going for, just a very modern, simple little tiny home. And I did make a couple for this lot, and they should be on the gallery by now, and you can download that if you want, because I decorated the house for them. I usually do that because it just helps me to make the house a little more personal and detailed if I have somebody in mind for it, So I really had a lot of fun with this house, and it only took me about an hour and a half to build, which is amazing. If you do a trellis like I'm doing here using the fences, it does count for your tile count, your total tile count, unless you delete the floors or like the floor in between in the squares, then it brings your tile count down. But I was a little surprised that it counted towards the tile count since it's not really on the actual lot, if that makes sense. But so I guess if you had a second story, then that would count as well, I'm assuming, because it did for the trellis. So there was one item that I didn't review in my object review video, which is up on the channel, and you should definitely check it out if you're interested in the objects. I do a very in-depth look at all the objects that come with the stuff pack. But one of the items that I didn't review is the front door that I used. I'm sure that you've seen it. It's kind of a mid-century looking door, but I like that the windows are within the door and not beside it. Because what happened with the mid-century doors that came with Get Famous, the window for the door was off to the side, and it like kind of messed up the symmetry in in the door and the window if you put a window next to it. So, and I don't know, I'm a sucker for symmetry, so that always kind of bothered me. So this is one of the items in the pack. It is a Murphy bed with a sofa, and I thought this would be a good place to put it because you have to have 2 tiles that are in front of the Murphy bed, so that way the sim can bring down the Murphy bed, and you need some space, some clearance there, unless you just wanted it to be like a decoration and, you know, just have the seat with the thing behind it. But I mean, no, the whole point of it is to have a bed as well there. So I tried to keep that area as clear as I could. So just working on the bathroom now. I love this toilet, this shelf with the cute little plant and clutter items, and I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but the sink that comes with this pack is super cute. Oh, there it is. I love that sink, and I love the oval mirror. It's very IKEA looking to me. Working on the kitchen now, it wasn't too bad of a space. I was thinking about using the mini fridge that came with university, but I thought it might be better just to have a regular old fridge there. And there's plenty of space to, you know, have your Sims cook, and everything is play tested, so everything's good to go if you decided to download this. It's very easy to play in because it's so small, which I don't know, I think that's a kind of an advantage to these little houses because your Sims can get around really easily. Everything is kind of close together. So yeah, I really like it a lot. I thought about using the new little desk that comes with the pack, but I ended up just putting a laptop on the table outside because I kind of feel like these people that live here always want to be mobile and they want to have as much space as possible in their tiny home. So it didn't really make sense to take up this whole corner just for a desk. So I ended up getting rid of that and replacing it with a new little console table that comes with the stuff pack. And I'm really excited for that, especially the tiny coffee table. I didn't use it here because I needed the space, you know, in between the Murphy bed and everything else, but I plan on using that. I plan on overusing it as well as most of the items in this pack, I think. The never-ending search and debug for plants. I really wish that they would tag these. I know that they're hidden objects or debug objects, but it's so hard to find, and at the very least, I don't know, maybe like by category, like just somehow organize debug in a way that makes sense, because it takes me forever to just look through debug for things. So maybe one day we'll get some type of organization for debug. Yeah, there's a new little console table. I love it so much. Unfortunately, there isn't a slot underneath it. I was a little disappointed though about that, as well as the new lamp that came with this pack. It has like a shelf underneath it, but it's not really usable. You could use the 9 key, of course, but that was basically my only qualm about this pack, as well as the poof not being textured enough, at least to my taste. I think it could have had a little more added detail to the mesh, but that's not really, a make it or break it type of thing. I just would have liked to have seen it, but otherwise this build is coming together. It's almost done. Now I know why people build tiny homes all the time, because they don't really take that long to make, and they're kind of fun. I might do more in the future, perhaps a tiny home that kind of matches each world. That's an idea that I had anyway. Like one that, like a tiny Victorian, or a tiny, I don't know, log cabin or something. I don't know. Just an idea. I might do that if I have time. And yeah, I hope you guys have been great. I haven't been on in a little while. Been really busy with work, and I was also really sick over the holidays. So I'm really happy to be back and be working on things. I have some plans. I have some ideas. So I'm really excited to get those underway. And I hope that you all enjoyed this tiny little build. And I will have screenshots at the end to show you some details on the inside and outside. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye.